We got 8 movies in the Alien franchise, so let's sit back and rank them. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm the movie ranker, and today I'm ranking all 8 Alien movies from worst to best. I have a good time with this franchise personally, and it's interesting looking at other people's rankings. Everybody seems to have the movies placed differently. Some people love the classics, some people love the new ones like Prometheus and Covenant, and some people like the Alien vs. Predators, the kind of like the fan fiction movies of the franchise. So this is going to be interesting, guys. I'd love to hear your rankings in the comment section. Make sure to drop those down there, and make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy rankings like this. And without wasting any more time, let's dive in. Coming in the last place at number 8, I got Alien vs. Predator Requiem, the second one. I do like that they made this one rated R. The first one was PG-13, and this one you get a lot more gore and violence in here. I like the look of the Pred alien. I think he has a pretty cool design to him. And I like the storyline of how this Predator is kind of picking up the mess after the Pred alien, cleaning up all the evidence and that. Pretty cool. Unfortunately, you can't see a whole lot going on in this movie because it's so damn dark. The lighting is nowhere to be found. There's so many scenes. You're like, what is going on there? Bad lighting, quite a bit of quick cuts in the editing. So those things aren't that great. We get a lot of characters in this one, and I'm not a fan of any of them. They just don't fit an Alien or Predator movie, these type of characters. Like, some of them are these late teens, and you get all that drama mixed in with it. And yeah, it's almost like a slasher movie, the way the characters act, and that, not a fan of that. They're all very forgettable. And yeah, it's an okay film, I guess, but pretty bottom of the barrel for this franchise. You do get a pretty cool fight scene at the end, but again, you can't see much of what's going on. So yeah, this one easily comes in last place for me. Up next, at number 7, I got Alien 3. Now, this one is one of the more hated movies in the franchise, and for good reason. It's not one I return to all that often unless I'm going through the entire franchise. I won't just pop this one on its own that often. I find it a little dull, a little boring, very ugly. There's like no color palette to this movie. It all just feels like concrete, very bland, if you will. But I do like the location, the setting. We're all in like this prison full of these like rapists and convicts and killers. So we got interesting characters in here. They form like a brotherhood and all that. And Ripley being among them, the only woman, I find that's pretty interesting, even though she's pretty dumb. If I were her, I would be staying in the med lab or somewhere safe. But in this movie, she's roaming around with all these convicts and killers around. It's like not the brightest decision on Ripley's part, but I do enjoy following Ripley around. We get some decent kills. The alien's different in this one. It's mixed with a dog instead of a human, so the design of the creature is a bit different. Not my favorite, but I do appreciate that they try to give us something different with the dog. And the assembly cut has a cow, I believe. Whether we're talking about this cut or the assembly cut, the movie still falls in the 7th place for me. It doesn't change that much. But the things it does wrong, it does so many things wrong. Like I said, the movie's ugly as hell. It undoes the victory of Aliens, which is terrible. The way this movie starts, kills off Newt, kills off Hicks, and it's just like for no reason at all, aside from to continue this story in this way. And yeah, I just did not enjoy that. It takes away everything that we built towards in Aliens. So that was a terrible decision. Probably too many cooks in the kitchen for this film too. If you look at the behind the scenes in that, there was the studio, the director, David Fincher, the director, doesn't even want this film to be under his filmography. He kind of disowned it at this point because he said that it's been chopped up, and a lot of his ideas didn't make it into here, and the studio interfered a lot. So that's another reason why the movie isn't as good as what it should be. And like I said, this movie's okay, but I always find myself at like the 3/4 mark starting to check out. Like, I'm just not as invested as I should be in this story. So yeah, this one's at 7th place for me. Up next, at number 6, I got Alien Resurrection. Now, even though this one's at number 6, I really do enjoy it. It does have flaws, though, but I have a fun time every time I watch Resurrection. And this one also gets way too much hate. I like the Ripley character being a clone in this one. She's very different. She has like some alien DNA in her, so she acts very weird at times and kind of bizarre. But I don't know. I just like this version of Ripley. Obviously, not as good as our original Ripley, but it's just an interesting direction to take the character. And I really enjoy all the other characters in here. We got Brad Dourif playing the crazy scientist who, is experimenting with these aliens and whatnot. Perfect for the role. And our main like thugs in here, we got Ron Perlman. He's great. Winona Ryder as our AI in here. Really colorful cast. They're a bit wacky. Their characters. It's not real serious, and I think that's another problem this film has is with its tone. It doesn't know whether it wants to be serious, bizarre, or comedic. It kind of blends all three. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I think for 1997, it has some pretty good CGI. There's a few moments that stick out bad. It's something I never mentioned in Alien 3. That has terrible CGI, like god awful. But this one, like when the aliens are in the water swimming, I love that scene. It looks actually pretty damn good for the time. The ending does get a bit too bizarre when we get like the alien human hybrid, the new baby that's born, or the queen gives birth to it. And yeah, it is very bizarre, very weird. There's a lot of like sexual innuendos in there with Ripley, like the way she's laying with the aliens and that. It's just very bizarre, but I do like it in a way. I don't hate it. I'm more mixed on it, I guess. I definitely don't like the design of this new creature, the white one with the goo all over him. He just looks silly to me. But the idea of him is good in my opinion. Like I said, I just enjoy all this cast, all these characters, these smugglers, especially the guy in the wheelchair. I think he's right wacky and fun. It has tonal issues. It has a weird, bizarre ending. But at the end of the day, this is one that I enjoy returning to quite a bit. Up next, at number 5, I got AVP, Alien vs. Predator by Paul W.S. Anderson. Another movie a lot of people hate on. I feel like every one of these movies in the franchise, aside from one or two, they all either are love or hate scenarios. But I love all of them for the most part, so I'm not one of those guys. But yeah, AVP, I think it has a really cool story to it. If you look at it as fan fiction, you can't really take this as a part of the franchise because the timelines and stuff just doesn't make sense. But if you take this on its own thing, I think it works. I like the whole under the snow, under the ice pyramid and how it shifts all the time, trapping and moving around the humans in there so they're hard time to communicate and find each other. And of course, some of them end up in the room, they get sacrificed. And I just think it's really cool how the predators are using the aliens to hunt, but they need humans in there to create this cycle. Very cool storyline, something I never really thought of before. Unfortunately, it is PG-13, so we don't get a whole lot of great gore or violence. On the humans anyway. The battles between the aliens and the predators are pretty good since they have green blood. They're allowed to show a lot more to get that PG-13 rating. And I just really like how the predator has to work with one of our main humans to fight the queen and fight off these aliens. I think it was just something really different, something we never seen before. Yes, a lot of the characters are forgettable in here, just like AVP2. That's a problem these movies have. But this is a fun time in my opinion. Up next, at number 4, I got Prometheus. Now, interesting enough, you can take this movie as a standalone film and separate it from the Alien franchise, and it still absolutely works. When it first came out, that was something that kind of bothered me because I was expecting an Alien prequel. And this is that, but you're missing a few chapters that lead up to the Alien movie, right? Obviously, with Covenant and that, things changed. But with this one, it's very in the early stages of that. So if you're expecting an Alien movie, you will be disappointed. But once you get past that, I think this is a really good science fiction film, which asks many questions like, where did we come from? Who's our creator? And its themes are just so rich, whether you're talking about science versus faith, creation, destruction, AI taking over, technology, the pros and cons of it. There's just so much here that it tackles, but it never feels convoluted or too complex to understand. It does it in a really kind of not straightforward, but in a manner that's easy to understand. And Michael Fassbender is just so good as David. I think David's one of the more interesting characters in the entire franchise, if you ask me. As an AI who knows he was created by human, but then he sees himself above humans, above his creator, and then how he kind of goes on his own little mission to create and destroy. I just think it's a really interesting and thought-provoking film. My only nitpicks or complaints I have with it is all the dumb decisions the characters make. That is the only problem here, and it happens multiple times. Whether you're talking about when you're in on a planet that you've never been to before, and you go and the oxygen levels are good. Everybody just removing their helmets. Okay, but then they wander around the place with no helmet on, and they're constantly doing it throughout the movie. Take off their helmet, put on their helmet, take off their helmet. Especially when bad things start happening, I'd be leaving that helmet back on, keeping it on, I should say. Or just like with the black goo and how they're like, some of them are touching it and that, or this weird worm creature comes up to you as if you're going to be like, hey guy, and be all like, oh, for it to attack you. It's just so many dumb decisions. And another big one is Charlize Theron's character when she's running straight ahead when you got the spaceship coming down. All she had to do is run to the left or the right, but no, she just keeps running straight ahead until she gets crushed. So dumb. Aside from dumb character moments though, everything else is really interesting and rich in themes, and I really enjoy it. Up next, at number 3, I got Alien Covenant. Now funny, this one goes up and down my ranking quite a bit, but on this last rewatch, I had a hell of a time watching this. It was so good. It takes the good things from Prometheus and really puts us on track to get to where the Alien movies begin. You really start to see the process unfold in here, all because of David with his science projects, right? Always trying to see what this black goo can make, this black matter, and using it to destroy and create, and eventually coming up with the egg in this film. It's too bad we never did get the closing part of this trilogy. That's one of my complaints I have about this film, is the way it ends. It kind of ends on a cliffhanger, and we never will get an ending to that, because this was supposed to be a trilogy, unfortunately, with Prometheus, Covenant, and another movie. Apparently David was going to make the Queen in the third one. That would have been so interesting, and it would have led up right to the 1979 classic film. Too bad that will never happen, but on its own, this movie is really cool. David is just so deceptive, and you never know if you should trust him or not, even though you should never trust David. And I like how they bring in another AI just like him called Walter, and he's a much better version of the character. And the whole twist at the end, how they switched, was really cool. The first time I watched it, I had no idea, and that kind of blew me away. On rewatch, you can see all the clues there that it's not really Walter by the end, but it's still really well done. I like how we got a lot more alien action in here. The creatures are becoming more and more like the xenomorphs that we know and love. Not a big fan of the CGI. I mean, the CGI looks good, I suppose, for this type of movie, but practical is the way to go with these films. There's a reason why the classic 80s movies are so high regarded as classics, because the practical effects were so good. And when you see CGI, even though it looks good, you still know it's not real, and that takes away a tiny bit from the film. But regardless, the aliens are brutal and aggressive in this one, like coming out random spots of the people, coming out the back of the guy's neck, and coming out of the guy's mouth, and using their tail to rip off jawbones and stuff. It's brutal, it's gory. They really up that from Prometheus. And right off the bat, the crew from Covenant end up with bad luck right from the start, losing their captain and slowly losing crew members on the planet, getting sick, and losing their ship. And it's just one thing after another. Not the main Covenant ship, but their shuttle ship. And it's just bad luck after bad luck. All in all, I think they did a really good job with the horror elements and adding in more alien elements in here to make it feel like it's part of the franchise. I feel like this elevates Prometheus 2 as it attaches to this movie very well. Like I said, it's just unfortunate we never got that third movie, so the ending to this one is kind of bittersweet in my opinion. Reaching our top 2, at number 2, I have Aliens. Okay, there's two types of people in the world. There's some people who's going to say Aliens the best movie in the franchise, and other people who's going to say Aliens. And I think both movies are so fantastic. I really do have a tough choice choosing which one I prefer, but I had to go with my gut on this one. So Aliens comes in at number 2 for me. It's just whatever you prefer with your personal taste, I think. This one moves a bit quicker. It's more action packed. We get more aliens, so we up the ante, bigger guns, bigger everything, right? You send in Marines this time, and it's a whole lot of fun. Great cast. We got Bill Paxton, Michael Biehn, Sigourney Weaver returning, Lance Henriksen as our AI Bishop. A great cast. And a lot of them get taken out after the first encounter with these aliens, but the ones who survive are the ones that are most fun to watch, like Vasquez, Hudson, Hicks. Those are my favorite characters to spend time with, so it's really cool that we follow them for the second half of the movie. I really love that Ripley takes on the role of mother for Newt, this girl that they find on this planet. Um, in the deleted scenes or the extended cut of Aliens, we find out that Ripley had a daughter of her own and everything, so that ties into the story even better. But even in the theatrical version, it's just really nice to see her protecting her and eventually forming this mother-daughter bond by the end. And we get that kick-ass shot of Newt in like kind of like the sewers or whatever in the water, and the alien coming up behind her with his tail whipping, and that such a badass shot. Again, practical effects gets it done. I don't know how he filmed that, but it looks so good. One of the best shots in the entire franchise. And speaking of Ripley and Newt with the mother and daughter scenario, it's really interesting that they introduced a queen alien in this one to show where the eggs come from. And when Ripley threatens to destroy the eggs, the queen alien's like, oh, back off. Like, you see the relationship between the alien queen and the eggs, like the mother and a kid type of thing in there as well. But yeah, I love how Ripley just like fuck it, and she burns them all anyway with her flamethrower. Ripley's such a badass in this movie too, like taping two guns together, a flamethrower and assault rifle or pulse rifle, whatever. And she just kicks ass, a true survivalist. And of course, by the end, with the big battle of her and the Queen, when she's in like the forklift mecha suit, it's just so iconic, man. So I think this movie's super influential. James Cameron really upped the game. He did kind of what he did with Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, from Alien to Aliens. He really changed the genre. He removed a little bit of the horror elements, the slasher type elements, and made it an action horror movie. Bigger, more better. I understand why people have this in first place, but for me, I have my reasons for Alien to be in first. But this one is such a fun ride from start to finish, and it really does a good job at continuing the storytelling, building on this world and the mythology, and just keep adding on to this world, and I just love that. But for me, coming in the first place, I have to give it to Alien from 1979, the original. Like I said, there's two types of people, and I prefer this movie. I know it's a bit slower at times, but that adds to the tension and the atmosphere, and is directed brilliantly by Ridley Scott. I love his camera shots and moving slowly down the halls and that. And by the end, when the ship's lights are flickering and everything's going crazy, it's about to blow. It just looks fantastic, and you see the sweat on the characters' faces, and you're sweating with them. You're like, get off of there. It's just such a unique take on the science fiction genre. Going to this planet, getting infected, the whole evolutionary process to the aliens, going from egg to this little creature that goes on your face and puts another creature inside of you, to that creature bursting out of your chest, growing up to be this giant monster who resembles, I don't know, part alien, and it looks a little bit like a velociraptor, I find. And it just, the design is one of the coolest designs in cinema history, up there with Predator. They're both my favorite creature designs of all time. But not only the design and the evolutionary process, but having like that little mouth in his mouth, having blood that's like acid and burns through anything. There's just so many cool things here that they did. I know that they improved on a lot of these things with Aliens, but it all started here with the original. And I just love how you slowly start to figure out what's going on. It's really a great mystery. It moves slowly, but it almost needs to do that to tell this type of story. And I also love how Ripley isn't even like the main final girl at start, you don't even know who's going to survive because all the characters kind of got equal screen time for a while until shit starts going down and Ripley becomes in charge. And I think that was just great because then you never know who's going to survive, who's going to last. Is any of them going to make it? It makes it more unpredictable. And the way the alien is stalking them one by one on the ship, it really does play out like a slasher movie. This is like if Halloween meets Star Wars and they came together and we got this movie. Which, you know, this film came out around the same time as Halloween and after the big boom of Star Wars, so sci-fi was in at the time. My only minor complaint in this one is Ash, when he's revealed to be an AI and he's fighting Ripley. It does look a little outdated, and I never really understood why he's trying to shove a magazine in her mouth. Like, that is just weird and bizarre to me. It doesn't fit the movie at all, personally. If you take that one part out and just have him fight her regularly, I think it would have worked a lot better. But that's a nitpick, guys. This is almost a perfect movie in my eyes. Like I said, some people might find it a little too slow, but I'm always invested from start to finish. The movie looks great on Blu-ray too. If you can pick up like a 4K version, do it because the transfer is amazing. Yeah, great world building, great creature. I like the characters in here. They're very like blue collar, not your average type of horror characters. They're like these workers, and I like that about it. It really stands out. It was incredibly original. Every horror sci-fi movie that in space basically copies this movie. It's highly influential, and to me, it easily comes in the first place in my ranking. So there you have it, guys. There's my ranking of all 8 Alien movies. Hope you enjoyed it. I know it's not the right ranking. It's just the way I see it. And I'd be damned to find someone else with the same ranking. Like, nobody has the same ranking for Alien. It's either they had the first 2 switched up or down, and the rest of them are all over the place. I've seen Covenant in last place. I've seen it in 3rd place. So it's just a really interesting franchise, and to me, even the bottom ones are still watchable. So I can still have a good enough time with it. It's one that I return to quite a bit. So like I said, make sure you drop your rankings down in the comment section below. I'll be glad to discuss that with you. You can follow me on Letterboxd. Link to that is in the description of this video to see all my other lists and ratings and rankings, stuff like that. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching.